Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Western New York High School Football Weekly. Frank Wolf, Tom Prince, and Mario Hall is joining us in studio today for episode 3, I believe, of the year. Yeah, season something or other. Tim Gardner, of course, producing, putting all the graphics together for us. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to have a good show for you all today. A lot to get to, a lot we wanted to talk about. Um, we're going to have Eric Rupp and Coach Cieslik from Orchard Park joining us. That's the big game Friday night. I don't know if there's any bigger game in Western New York. Two of the large double A schools going at it. I mean, I guess you could talk. There are other big games
Oh
going
yeah,
on
there
for
are.
sure.
Yeah.
But this is the game that everyone's had circled on their calendar. Or one of the games you've had circled on your calendar when the schedules came out last spring. The others, obviously, Canisius Joe's, Canisius Franny's. If certain players didn't get hurt, you might have had other games circled too. But now with some injuries coming out, affecting teams and how they're performing right now, having direct effects on how teams are performing, it's going to change the landscape on how some games might not be as big anymore because of, unfortunately, those injuries. So we'll just have to pay close attention. Um, we want to thank our sponsors. Tim, you probably had them on the screen already once or twice already, but you guys know who you are. Thank you very much for helping us out getting this show every single Wednesday. We are on YouTube tonight. We're on the website. You got comments, questions, throw them at us on the YouTube page. We'll get to them as soon as we can. Tom, you started Thursday night. You called a game with who'd you call that with?
The
Was that
one on Thursday night
yeah?
I did with Jake Fyock
That was West Seneca West
and
and
McKinley.
McKinley. And Mario, I know you have some strong ties to McKinley coaching staff.
Oh yeah,
Some of those
before I
guys.
came this year.
So that game, I was at Springville. Who were they playing?
Olean.
Springville and Olean. Yes, Springville and Olean. I was kind of watching Twitter and I was kind of watching a little bit of the NFHS broadcast that you were doing, and I had to do a double take. I saw a score of like 2-0.
That was the halftime score.
That's crazy.
That was the halftime score.
I
And
mean,
in fact, at one point it was 16-4.
yeah, yeah. So how did they get the safeties? I wanted to ask 'cause I didn't see the highlight of that, but how did they actually get
So I will
the?
tell I will say this because I did it in, obviously a little bit in jest, but if West Seneca would have won that game, it would have been the first time ever that I would have had a punter as one of the players of the game that I would have brought out. His first four punts, the first three went inside the red zone, and the other one that didn't go in the red zone was a turnover that West Seneca West got.
Okay, got it.
So you could see as they pushed him down into the red zone, and there was an intentional grounding safety that was called for the first one, and then later on they get a second one, but it was because they were pinned down into their territory. Is pretty much what it was.
So we saw West Seneca West fall to Niagara Falls in week 1. They fall to McKinley Max week 2. They get Will North this week, I believe, coming off a loss against Will East. So that game now has major implications for West Seneca West trying to keep playoff hopes alive. We're in week 3.
Even Will North has got
And
huge play ones. Yep. Yeah.
absolutely. So, we're in week 3, Mario, Tom, and we're already looking at playoff pictures because the divisions are so tight. You can't really afford more than a couple of losses in your division, I don't think.
It depends, like on the division. With A, at least the top four in your conference is getting in because we only have got A1 and A2. Same thing in the C division. So you're getting four from each division. It's the B division that you could lose
Yeah.
1, 2 games and you're done already because of the B having B1, B2, and B3.
No question about that. We're going to get into some of those standings and more a little bit later in the show. Again, you were at the West Seneca West McKinley game on Thursday. I was at Springville Olean. Very impressed with Springville, a more balanced team than what we've seen the last few years. Olean at times couldn't get out of their own way. They had a really nice goal line stance early in the game, but then they just couldn't do anything with that momentum shift. Um, the
The last
quarterback
group,
was off. The quarterback, I know they talk a lot about the only quarterback. That's the first time I got to really see him up close and personal. He wasn't having a good game, wasn't making the throws that he needed to make to move the ball. The running game wasn't much. He did most of the running, positive plays. There weren't a lot of them for Olean, but their defense wasn't too bad. Springville, on the other hand, defense was superb, and I think having a competent quarterback back there, I wasn't super impressed with the quarterback either, to be honest, but he made throws that he had to make, ran the ball well, and they have a running game there too, and
That's their bread
special
and butter.
teams.
That's their bread and butter.
And,
They're
and
going
you
to run.
talked about kickers. They have a pretty good kicker there
Yep.
too. Springville is a much more balanced team in all phases, and I would be weary of Springville going forward if I was in Class B. Don't take them lightly. This is not the same team you saw last year or even the year before.
100% agree with you. But no, last year this is the same team from last year.
They started being recognized.
Same way they started off last year, they started off this year. Started out coming out of the gates. Their problem was when they finally met Alden, Lackawanna in that stretch, if you remember. This almost whole team, as far as main players, were coming back. We knew Springville was going to be somebody that we were gonna see, we were gonna reckon with. We knew the defense was already strong. We knew the running game was already strong. They were just needed to add a little bit of that passing into the mix, and then see what happens as far as what they were going to do this
And
season.
the other thing with them is confidence. They didn't have a whole heck of a lot of confidence. You're going to go play Dunkirk, who's 0-2 on Thursday night. Again, another premier game. That game could turn some heads for Springville, not because Dunkirk's going to present a whole heck of. Listen, Springville's a little bit better than Dunkirk right now. I think if Springville can jump out in the season 3-0, the confidence level of that locker room is going to be through the roof, something they haven't had in some time. And I think that gives them a leg up in where they were maybe a season ago as things started to
They
really
started off the same way last year.
I
mean, they're
that.
still 3-0 is what I mean.
Okay.
That's why I was going to give you the exact, so we knew exactly what it was. So Springville won their first game 30-8, won their second game 6. So they went 2-1. Lost a very close game to Depew 28-23. They were 2-1 at this point, but 2-0 again going into the third week.
So now they're finding ways to win games. Let's see if they can keep that momentum going. There was another big win in Class C with that Western New York Maritime Charter. There's more to it there. Western New York Maritime Tapestry Charter. Okay, the Seahawks with Glenn Mullenix taking over the program. Now again, Tom, this is a charter school that split off from Health Sciences. So last year they had a real rough go of it. They had a rough go their first year too. Let's not forget Class A when they came in with it was Ty Parker, but it was also the guy from Timon. The name escaped me.
It was Maritime and
Health Sciences
together at that time.
But they had a rough go. They had them Class A to start the season. They had games against Canisius, and it was a rough first season. Right. And that's kind of the way it was last year for Western Maritime, trying to get a feel of what they had in the program. And right now they've got a few players there at least that are starting to make a difference. They didn't look great, I should say, in that first week against Alden.
We talked about that, but they put up huge numbers in the passing game that first week.
They did, but the final score was what was the final score?
Yes, the final score didn't be indicative of what that final game was. But if you remember when we talked about this, I said, Frank, we got to watch these guys. You got a quarterback that's putting up 300 yards in the air.
Yeah.
You've got to watch out and be very cognizant of that. And that first game against Alden, right? You remember, Tremaine Harris goes for 333 yards in game 1. So we said, all right, they didn't get the win. I get it, but we want to watch out for this. And he comes up big again.
They were down 3 scores after the third quarter. So that was a rough third quarter for them. In that game in the first week against Alden. A rough third quarter for them. They give up 2 touchdowns. And I think that's where things kind of went off the rails there. First week of the season, they could put that behind them. Unfortunately, the loss doesn't really hurt them because Alden is in that B.
Correct.
Right. So Tapestry's in the C.
It was a non-conference game.
So it doesn't hurt them in the division.
Correct. Last
week's win against the Class D team, but still one of those Class D teams that has been at the stadium year after year.
Yeah, great.
So that's not like it's, it's just the poor down there. These Franklin Olivet, that's a well-respected program, and for Tapestry to get the win last week against them in a tough game, physical game, that speaks volumes. And I think this week they have. I just had that up. Tapestry has a really, really big game inside the division against Akron. Now that's going to be a huge game for them
Yep.
because now you have a passing game you got to worry about, a running attack you got to worry about, a well-coached program in Akron. That to me is the game for Tapestry and Maritime. That program there, that's going to tell you a lot about what they have to work with there. That's not a must-win game, but Tom,
No, it's the first game of their conference,
yeah,
but
they
it's
come
a
out
measuring stick, is what it
huge
is.
measuring
Yep.
stick for them. That's the one that we're going to want to know how they do there. And then after that, it's Cleve Hill.
Yeah.
And Cleve Hill's been struggling for a while. So, let's see what happens with Akron, and then you get Cleve
In
Hill.
that game, though, in that game,
Yeah.
you just talked about what happened in the game one. How do you learn from game two? In game two, in this Franklinville-Ellicottville game, they were down 28-12. Halftime score was
Correct.
28-12 with Franklinville-Ellicottville winning. They shut Franklinville-Ellicottville out in the second half, put up 20 themselves. And again, you've got Harris going for 236 yards. This is back-to-back weeks, 333, 236 yards, 3 touchdowns again this week. I'm telling you, this young man, Tremaine Harris, you better watch out for. And not only that, does he go for 236? He runs the ball for 73 at the same time and ran the ball for a touchdown. So he still accounted for another 300 yards himself in that one. This kid's somebody to watch out
Yep.
for.
We'll keep our eye on him.
And the wide receiver, too. Watch out for him. That's Luis Torres goes for 143 in this game, 2 touchdowns himself.
After this Akron game, they get Tonawanda, who is having some struggles with numbers. They could not finish their game last week because of injuries.
Yeah.
They're going up
Stopped
against.
at halftime, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
they're going up against Alden. I still don't know. I don't even know if they have enough guys to go this week. I'm trying to find that out right now. They're on the schedule to play Alden, but we'll have
we
to wait
haven't
and see.
seen, at least Section 6 when somebody tell us this game's not happened. We haven't heard
Well,
that at this point.
No, they put the
Yeah.
schedule out today, and that game was still front and center. So eyes on that one there. Mario, where were you this weekend? I know where you were Friday because I seen you.
Jamestown was a very good game against St. Joe's, I believe. St. Joe's didn't come with the victory, but overall it was pretty good. Solid football from both teams.
This is what I've heard. Okay. Obviously, I'm not at that game. I just see highlights, I see things. But one of the biggest differences this year with St. Joe's is what I preach. This is a line that they used to have in the past. This is that big, strong line that we haven't seen in the last couple years there, that they now have got the big boys up front to try to go in and compete with Canisius and St. Francis now.
No question about it. They've got one guy who's already been on the trench in week 1. I thought they might have had another guy this week. But St. Joe's, honest to God, guys, I didn't think they were going to do well against Jamestown. I was vocal about that one. I thought Jamestown was going to present a lot of problems for St. Joe's. I couldn't have been more wrong. And almost from the opening kick, and Mario, you were right there. You had a front row seat like I did. St. Joe's controlled that game for most of it. Jamestown took a late lead, right, in the third quarter, but Joe's came back. They maybe a previous Joe's team from a couple of years ago or even last year may have crumbled once they gave that lead away. This one didn't. And to me, that spoke volumes about what this coaching staff is doing. They were taking a beating last week on social media.
Got it. Okay.
They were taking a beating. And, say what you want. That was a statement win for not just St. Joe's, but even Monsignor Martin, because last year Canisius lost to Lancaster. So Monsignor Martin has been the dominant force here in high school football. St. Joe's was one of those dominant programs, and they had lost quite a few steps after COVID, right? They seem really lost their footing there. They're not competing with Canisius and St. Francis the last few years. This team that I saw Friday night is a team that could at least hang in there, I believe, with Franny's and Canisius. I couldn't say that a year ago. And Mario, your thoughts on that?
Yes,
Because you've seen those teams more than anybody.
Yes, no, absolutely. I feel like what Tom said is correct. Their offensive line pretty much was able to move the ball and get upfield and go on to the second level, going after the linebackers. They did a phenomenal job. But one thing I want to say about the coaching staff for St. Joe's that kind of surprised me. At first they came out with a wildcat offense. I believe they had number two Dominic Cook Jr.
Yes.
He kind of has a few lost yards in the
Excuse me.
background, but then I was able to make the swap and move him to a running back or put him outside in the slot, and they pretty much like spread the field out.
Yes.
So they did complete a couple of passes. They was able to rely on their run game by doing jet sweeps and get to the edge rather than trying to force the ball at the middle. So I feel like that
Yeah.
coaching adjustment definitely helped out.
Certainly. Early in the game, running that Wildcat, Jamestown was getting into the backfield.
Correct. Yes.
Um, and obviously the one that everyone's going to remember is that safety.
Yes, that's also true.
It could have
Correct.
turned the game around a little bit. It didn't break Joe's down at all.
Yeah.
And the players got better. They responded. Cooks ended up having a pretty good game. Panapino, we don't talk about a lot. We haven't talked about a lot because, again, if your team's not winning and you're getting blown out by 40, 50 points by other Monsignor Martin teams, you're losing to Timon, a team you haven't lost to in a while last year. We're not going to talk a lot about what's going on there because what are we celebrating? A team losing 60-6?
And not only that, your accolades come normally in the second half in those games when it is second and third strings that are into the game.
Yes.
But you just ran for 76 yards against Jamestown. So you've done it. How about Klein? 249 yards by the air, 4 touchdowns?
A quiet game for him. He had a couple of nice passes, but he didn't blow me away.
Okay.
I thought the run after catch ability of Joe's was something that we hadn't seen.
Coons.
Coons,
So you're
yeah,
talking
he
about-
didn't have to do a lot of it, but
121.
Cook was really good in open space.
168 yards
Yeah.
by Coons.
Yeah.
3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Oh, player of the game and Conley Cup nominee this
Right,
week.
right.
Klein was okay.
Yeah.
Klein was okay.
He did what he had to do to get the win.
He did what he had
Yeah.
to do. That defense looked really good too.
Absolutely.
The defensive line of St.
That's where
Joe's
it begins.
was
There you go.
all over Jamestown. They went with Gonzalez to start a QB, and then they brought in Kubera.
Isn't the Gonzalez normally the wide receiver?
Gonzalez is a
He's
switchblade.
an athlete.
He's an athlete, yes. And I don't think they want Gonzalez playing quarterback. I think they want Cabrera there, but maybe there's some inexperience there, some learning curve. Jamestown went a different direction and started Gonzalez, and he was okay. He threw a couple of touchdowns, but he did
He's a
okay.
tough kid. He was taking his struggle
Yes.
during the game.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and he was getting up.
Yes, absolutely. That's absolutely.
Tom, that was a great game. I know. What was the final score of that one, anyways?
So there was actually 3 different guys that threw the ball in that game. Now, honestly, Bonta only threw 1, but
that might have been on
Yeah.
an extra point. He had a interception return.
But
touchdown as well.
Kubera only had 3 attempts, and then Gonzalez had 17. When you look at
That
it,
makes sense. Yeah.
you know,
I think that was later in the game when they was down. They came up with a 5 wide and they moved number 4 to outside.
St. Joe scored 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. That was the difference of the game.
remember there was a point when Jamestown is down, takes the lead in that
Yes.
second quarters when they took the lead. And even from me from afar, because I'm calling another game at this point.
Yeah.
I'm over in West Seneca West,
Yeah.
right? Or West Seneca East, I'm sorry, on Friday night. And I'm sitting there going, oh, man, Jamestown just comes back and takes the lead. We're going to see them run. That's where you give St. Joe's the most credit right there, is you go down in this game, come back in a big game like that, take the lead, and then you're the one that walks out there with the win.
Yeah, it was 15-14 at the half. 15-14 at the half. That was a game that was on WNYO or WBFO. I can't mess that up. WNED. Okay. What? Create.
Yeah.
WNED Create. I listened to Jack Cruiser and Pat Colley. I left somewhere in the mid to fourth quarter. I was planning to leave that game early. I thought Jamestown could be up by a couple of touchdowns. Just the way people were talking about Joe's, I'm not saying they were 100% wrong, but I think they need to double check themselves because that's St. Joe's coaching staff did a phenomenal job on Friday night against Jamestown. A very good program. We'll see what happens this week. But St. Joe's turned a lot of heads. I didn't like what happened that first week. That Canadian team cannot come down and beat you at home.
But the one thing we needed to do was rebuild. He knew when he came into this program, it was in rebuild mode. We all know it.
Numbers were all-time low.
So what he's done on numbers wise, down in those lower age groups, This is the first year he's starting to see some of that recruiting come into play, and we're starting to see some of those numbers.
Yeah.
Give Coach Corona credit, right? Because this
give
is
the whole
really what
staff.
he's done the right way, building it back up.
Yeah, doing a great job, or so it seems right now. Who does Joe's have this week? Do we know?
Yeah,
They're off
they're
this
in a
week?
bye.
This
They're
is
in a
the
bye.
week they're off.
Yep.
Okay, and then they have Canisius.
So think about that. Now you get an extra week right now to compete for Canisius, which is
Yeah.
another big thing right
Yes.
there in their feather in their hat.
I didn't see anybody leave the field from Joe's. Health issues, there shouldn't be any. I don't believe. Did you?
No.
Did you recall?
Sure, I think somebody did leave for Jamestown. I could be mistaken.
Jamestown perhaps, but not Joe. So Joe's, they look big, and again, like I said, I think this Joe's team could compete with Canisius and Franny's. We'll find out.
Well, you got two Division I linemen right now
Yep.
sitting over at Canisius. You're
Yes.
going to get your test right now.
hell
It's
yeah.
coming up.
And then you got maybe the best running back in Western New York on top of that.
Yeah, you could say that. Yeah,
So
I don't disagree with those comments
so
at all.
we have maybe that Canisius Joe's game, that rivalry could be back. We're going to find out in a couple of weeks. We'll be there for that. We're going to have a nice big college game day to do, if you will, on that Saturday. So be ready for that one. What else did we see? Saturday was kind of a
Well, Friday. I was also at
Yeah.
the.
oh yes
Yeah, I did West Seneca East and Grand Island is
Okay.
what I did on Wednesday. So I'm sorry, on Friday. And Grand Island, listen, I started off my interview with Coach Santoro right there and said, Coach, you didn't have a great first half against Pioneer. You come back in the second half, make this a game. All as you did was go from that second half and it led right into this game. Tell me what really worked. And I'll tell you what really worked was the trenches. They owned the trenches. They really did. It was what worked really well for them. Why they were able to just run the ball and they did it. Whether they wanted to run the ball, they wanted to pass the ball. They pretty much was able to do what they wanted inside this game. Very impressed with a bunch of kids on this Grand Island team. But I'll tell you the one who I really like a lot, and he's somebody who is that lineman that can play running back. This is the kid, right? Dominic Nucci is what his name is. He is that fullback out there that if coach went to him and said, Dominic, I need you to play the line this week, he could in a heartbeat just step in and do it, right? All over the field, really made his impact known. Love this kid. Their quarterback is somebody to watch out here too. Their quarterback, Nick Court, did a phenomenal job running that offense. He'd also run out of the shotgun at the same exact time. And then their running back, Michael Soul, those really were kind of the three-headed stepchild right there that could just do whatever they wanted, especially when it came to running the ball. This was a big win for Grand Island.
And they're going to get Kenmore East this week. I believe it's their first home game. So Kenmore East travels to Grand Island. They won last week against Cheektowaga. They got a pretty good running game going on, and a nice line there at Ken East. We'll see how they compete with Grand Island, who's 1-1. But that first week against Pioneer, they went down with a fight there. A big, tough game.
And technically a non-conference one, meaning that they're not in the same B1 as what they are.
But they are in B.
Right, but it doesn't count towards you trying to get to the playoffs in essence.
Correct.
Right? So no, this Grand Island team is going to be somebody to watch out for. That will add into this B division, which is already loaded with talent all over the place.
And then the other game that we did on Saturday, we did that St. Mary's O'Hara game. St. Mary's did a really good job. Quarterback there, I think they had like 4 or 5 touchdowns. I believe he was a Connolly Cup guy this week. Did he not make it? Wow. St. Mary's kid did not make a Connolly Cup. That's embarrassing. He should have been on that list. All right. Anyways,
I can give you his stats here. Give me one.
He had 5 touchdowns.
Yeah. Oh, and I want to say no. Not only did he have 5 touchdowns, he ran for 2 touchdowns. He had 7 touchdowns that were a part of him.
Double check that.
I did. I looked at it before we came in. 7, 5 passing, 2 by the run. He accounted for every single touchdown, either by his arm or by his legs.
Jesus.
He threw for 247 yards.
That's Bryce Terry.
No.
The kid from St. Mary's of Lancaster is who I'm looking for. Bryce Terry
My
had one
fault.
hell of a day.
Yeah, Bryce Terry. I'm sorry. I was
Yeah,
looking
Bryce
at his
Terry
stuff.
had he was
Luke Nowak is what we're talking about.
Yes.
126 yards by the area, 2 touchdowns. But also Jack Gorman actually only threw
Gorman.
one long pass, but it was 85 yards, and that went for a touchdown.
That was to Israel Wilson,
Correct.
who had 2 touchdowns. Another name that you're going to want to remember. Keep tabs on that kid. He's a player.
Yeah. He has I've got him listed Israel Wilson for 1 on the
He had
stats.
a punt return.
Okay, so he had a punt return is the other one. The other ones that caught passes were LeVar Noe for a touchdown, Jordan for a touchdown, and then Logan Gray ran for a touchdown in that one. And that was all the different scoring right there by St. Mary's. I apologize. I was looking at the wrong game on my notes.
Why don't we take a quick break, come back? I know Rupp's coming in just a little bit. We want to cue him up. We'll be talking a lot about that Orchard Park Lancaster game. You're watching WNY High School Football Weekly on YouTube or on WNYathletics.com.
Ready, Bobby?
Yeah.
At freeway speeds, it can take an 18-wheeler far too long to stop.
Now?
Keep going! Fact is, it can take 2.5 football fields for a semi-truck to stop.
Over here.
And still, we see many big trucks barreling down on everyday motorists.
Thank you. Hey!
If you're injured by a truck, I won't give them a break.
I know you.
Truck hit your car? Call William Attar.
Watch the best of Western New York high school football every Friday night at 7 p.m. Catch the games every week on Create on Spectrum Channel 1275.
Western New York Immediate Care's new locations are now open. Whether you've suffered a minor injury or just aren't feeling well, Western New York Immediate Care provides safe, quick, high-quality care at an affordable cost. Our clinicians are trained to diagnose and treat non-life-threatening injuries and illnesses and are equipped with on-site x-ray and labs to help you feel better, faster. With 4 convenient locations open 7 days a week, Western New York Immediate Care is here to help when and where you need us. Visit us online to learn more.
Seek your next adventure. Make your next memory. Explore your next connection. What will you do next?
Look, Patriot account is not going to close itself. Looks like you're going to be here late again. I need this by morning.
Oh no, not again. My son has a football game tonight.
WNYathletics.com. You can link me later.
WNY Athletics, your home for high school sports.
Yes.
Welcome back to WNY High School Football Weekly. Frank Wolf, Tom Prince, and Mario Hall of the Hall Pass joining us in studio. Tim Gardner producing another great episode. Glad you're with us. Timmy's putting all those highlights in as we're talking about these different games we did. We also did Ken West Clarence on Saturday. Clarence did a really good job of spreading that ball around. I'll tell you, the one thing about that Clarence offense, Tubin's going to get a whole heck of a lot of notoriety, and he is a damn good quarterback. But they have a lethal running attack in Clarence. They got 2 guys that can run the ball. Van Horn's one of them, and the other guy's name has escaped me right now. I apologize, but they have a very good running attack. And if they get that going and take some pressure off of Tubin, that's the secret of success for me when it comes to the Red Devils.
And you would think if you were pregame, the guy you were going after in any game would be Tubin. But now if you're going to go ahead and focus on him and he gets those runs off, and then you start trying to stack the box at all to be able to stop that run game, watch out. That's when Tubin will take over, and we're going to see some huge numbers from him.
And I want to make a correction thanks to Colin Gallows watching from Tonawanda. Alden is a Class C North team, so the Tapestry loss to is another Class C team, and they will get Tonawanda in a couple weeks. And I'm hearing it's possible Tonawanda may not have enough players for that Alden game. I just got a text message from someone in the know trying to get him to answer my question. He said, clean bill of health for Friday versus Alden, and the guy said, unfortunately, no. So I'm waiting for him to tell me if it's a good game or not. So we'll let you know if I get an answer back before the end of the show. Anyways, We're getting ready to welcome in Eric Rupp, the head coach from the Lancaster Legends, a former Lancaster high school football player in his own who had a very good football career, played for Len Jankowitz, took over for Len, well, didn't exactly take over for Len Jankowitz, but followed Len Jankowitz a couple years after his departure. And this guy, all he does is get his team to Highmark Stadium every single year. Coach Rupp, glad to have you here with us today. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Coach, you got a hell of a game coming up on Friday night. I know you guys are sitting at 1-1. You played McQuaid till the end. Tough game there. Overtime loss, whatever you want to say it. I know that's not a game that you probably want to talk a lot about, but you got to be proud of the way your guys played that day. And then last week, a big win over Lockport. You made it look pretty easy. First half pretty much went all your way. And now you got a very tough Orchard Park team you got to face on Friday night who's 2-0. Your thoughts on Orchard Park and then those first two games of the season?
Yeah, anytime you play Orchard Park, it's one of the best weeks of the season. Technically, I know the Pew's our rival, but anytime, the Legends and the Quakers get together on a Friday night, it's going to be a heck of a show. Nothing but respect for that program, going all the way back to when I played, and going against Coach Tundo and some of his great teams. And now Coach Cieslik does a great job with those guys. It's going to be a big one for sure. I like where we're at. All right, week one was tough, but it was tough on purpose. We scheduled one of the best programs in the state, and we knew it was going to be a challenge. And I'm really proud of my guys. It came down to one play at the end. We decided to go for two. Came up a little bit short. And then, we had a good bounce back last week where we really got it going in all three phases of the game.
Can I ask one on that 2-point conversion? Because everyone's asking for it. That wasn't there. Do you make that call because of the weather, or do you make that call no matter what in that spot?
I make it no matter what. I told the guys, McQuaid took a timeout and got him in the huddle. I said, I love you guys. I believe in you guys. Let's go get the win. And that's kind of our mentality. And we didn't come up on top, but if I had to make that same decision again, I would do the same thing.
That's great.
Coach, before the season started, you lost a player to injury. How is he doing? And is he hanging around the team? Is he a big supporter now, a cheerleader type thing, or how's his role with the team right now?
Yeah, unfortunately, we lost a couple of guys to injury before the season started. But I believe you're talking about our wide receiver, Sebastian Perna. My heart breaks for him. It's tough to lose a season, especially when you're a senior. He's worked so hard for that opportunity, and we're looking for him to do some great things for us this year. But yeah, he's around as much as he can. He goes to physical therapy 2-3 times a week. But he's certainly just as big a part of his team as if he was playing or not. So we want him there as much as possible, and we appreciate him being around us.
Well, you give Perna our best. We think about him all the time. Orchard Park on Friday, they're coming in at 2-0. They're putting up a ton of points. Those Ciano brothers, I'm sure they're keeping you guys up at night. Just your thoughts on how you attack them and how you guys are approaching this game, if you can divulge any of your strategy with us.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think Brady Ciano is one of the best quarterbacks in Western New York. He's very intelligent. He sees the field well, and he's a dual threat. So anytime you can add that element to the game, it makes it harder on the defense. He does have good chemistry with some of his wide receivers, probably one of them better chemistry than others for obvious reasons. But also I think Carter Switek's a weapon too. I know last year was a tough season for him and he had to overcome some unfortunate injuries, but he's still a very good running back, and he's been on the team for, I think, 3 years now. So certainly we're going to have to play well defensively.
Coach, one of the things I really talk about this, especially when I do a Lancaster game, is how you bring this team together in the off season. There's so many things that you do in the off season that I think separate yourself from so many different teams, not only in Western New York, I'll say even in New York State and even farther. Just talk about the preparation leading into this season and how you get these kids ready. Because there are awards that people fight for in camp to really get them ready to go.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of things that we do, but I guess it really starts, right after exam week. As soon as school is out, we have our annual youth camp, where we've been blessed with great participation numbers. Usually between 180 and 200 kids. That our varsity players and our defensive coordinator Dave Mansell, they really run that camp. But in conjunction with that, our kids work out 4 days a week in the summer. We go 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And, obviously nothing is mandatory in the off season, but we have almost perfect attendance. And if someone is not there, it's coming from within. A lot of positive peer pressure for you to get your butt out of bed in the summer and get in and put in the work so we have a chance to be successful in the fall. On top of that, we divide our team into units. So we have 60 players on our varsity roster. We divide them into 6 units of 10. Each unit has 2 unit leaders where they kind of keep on tabs of the team throughout the summer. We assign them various tasks where they have to hang out with each other, go out for, a unit meal together, and do other things, go help at a little league practice. So we really want to build that chemistry before we even start that first day of practice. And, the longer that I do this, the most successful teams are usually the closest teams. So, in today's day and age, kids want to do everything through a cell phone, whether it's Snapchat or X, but, we want them to get together. We want them to spend time together. We want them to get to know each other, because that's only going to benefit you when adversity hits on the field.
And that you see over and over again. And I talk about how close these Lancaster teams, and it's not only football, Coach Rupp, it's every sport you see this camaraderie, but it's begun because of what you've built over there in the football side, no doubt. Orchard Park, very rich in quarterbacks. Casella, Sharp, Jenka, right? It's been one after another that you've seen quarterback wise go in there. How do you prepare now for a quarterback to do the same exact thing of what you've seen by his predecessors?
Yeah, it's certainly not easy, right? It's a tough week of practice, but I think our defensive coordinator Dave Mansell, he does a great job of getting the boys prepared. We watch film all the time. They have scout sheets that they have to fill out every single week before we even hit the field on Monday. So we know the kids have watched film. They're going to know the tendencies of starters, the top plays out of each formation. So a lot of it is the mental preparation that our kids do before practice even starts. But we're going to be aggressive by nature. We have a wide variety of zone blitzes, and it's no secret if you've watched us play, we're going to bring it. And we got to do a good job of making the pre-snap look be different than the post-snap look, because if we just sit in one coverage or stagnant, he's going to pick us apart.
I'm going to say you may be the most underrated coach that does not get enough respect in Western New York is Coach Mansell. You got to talk about him and what he's done for your staff and your program.
Yeah, he's been my right-hand man for a long time. He actually recruited me to come help him coach the defense in 2009 when Coach Jankowicz was still coaching. So him and I have done the defense together for a while, and then I became the JV head coach, and I hired him to be my assistant. And I kind of looked at him, and he looked at me, and I said, "Who's doing the offense?" So it was kind of me by default. And, we've been together ever since. And then when I became the varsity head coach in 2016, he moved back up to varsity, and things have been going pretty well since.
Yeah, obviously, as I'm on the sideline camera, I'm able to be a part of the huddles and hear what's going on and where you talk to the players and motivate them to go out and perform. One thing I want to give you credit for is something that caught my attention for last year when you guys beat Canisius at your home field. I feel like that atmosphere was amazing. I love the swing section. But one thing that caught my attention was your halftime adjustments. So I believe you guys won. I'm going to say the score was 28-13. Your players had a tough game. I want to say the game was kind of stagnant, but your halftime adjustments and where you was able to, I don't want to go in depth, but you had something up your sleeve where you could look at what Canisius was doing on the defensive side and what can you do on the offensive side to take advantage of it. So a couple of times where you saw them line up in the zero coverage, you knew the heat was coming. You did some things with your running back to outbeat the leverage of the linebacker and get the running back up in space. And I want to say that conversions, or I want to say at least four different conversions that you guys were able to take advantage of. So by far, your halftime adjustments and the way you make adjustments during the game blow me away. You have a lot of credit for that. I just want to ask you, when you get to a game where you get to the point, do you got to make these adjustments or believe and stick to the script of what you have? Like, how do you dictate which one to do?
Yeah, I think every game is a little bit different. First and foremost, I think it's a team effort. Certainly, I get the credit because I'm the head coach, but I have a pretty large coaching staff, and it's a bunch of guys that work really hard and they're selfless, and it doesn't really matter who gets the credit. But we're all working together for a common goal. So we're all constantly communicating through the headsets throughout the game. We have huddle sideline replay. So the offensive guys are watching the plays back on an iPad while the defense is on the field, and vice versa. So those guys are really putting in the work during the game. I'm just kind of managing the game from that standpoint. But the other thing that I think separates us from a lot of other programs is we have the ability to two platoon. Very few of our guys go both ways. We're pretty much split this year, 30 guys on offense, 30 guys on defense. And I think that gives us an advantage because, you look at your typical high school practice, let's say it's, 2 hours long. By the time you stretch and do special teams, you get 45 minutes of offense, 45 minutes of defense, where our guys are practicing 2 hours just on offense or 2 hours just on defense every single day. So again, that ties into to our preparation that I think has been beneficial for us.
Hey, Coach, I don't want to take up too much of your time, but one thing I wanted to mention about the Lancaster program is you guys have one of the best, if not the best, videography operators going on. Leading the charge there is this guy, Russ Battaglia, who we've been trying to kidnap from your program for quite some time, but I want to give Russ a lot of credit for everything he has to go through. I know he has to go through some hurdles to get your videos up and camera angles and all that stuff. But Russ Battaglia, he's like your unsung hero of that program.
Yeah, absolutely. We really appreciate all the work Russ does for us, getting the end zone camera set up, getting the press box view, recorded, and then uploading it in the huddle for us. So there's a lot of people that deserve credit for the success that we've had, for sure.
One more question. That's it.
Okay.
If Lancaster wins, what happened for that to happen?
I think you guys alluded to it earlier, right? We have to contain number 8. He's a very good quarterback. Like I said, he's a dynamic playmaker. So we certainly can't give up the big plays, whether it's on the ground or in the air. And, I think on the other side of the ball, we have to contain Zach Nawaldi. I think he's another very underrated player in Western New York. I love the way that he plays linebacker. He's fast, he's physical. When he blitzes, he really brings it. So we've been working hard all week to know where he's at because he's a game wrecker. So we have to be good in our combinations up front on the offensive line. We have to pick him up when he does blitz to give our quarterback time. And, I think we just need to execute. So Ciano and Nualdi are the two difference makers for Orchard Park, in my opinion. So we need to do a good job limiting that.
Those baseball players know how to hit, right, Coach?
Hey, love multi-sport athletes.
You've had them all along, so.
Coach, thank you very much for joining us. I know you got a lot of work to do in preparation for Friday, and just hope you guys have a great game on Friday night, and you guys come out of there unscathed.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate all you do for Western New York athletes.
Appreciate it. We'll see you on Friday.
Thanks, Coach. That was Coach Rupp from Lancaster, the Legends head coach. Every year he's been there, they've gotten to Highmark Stadium. Could this be the year someone can disrupt those plans? We'll have to wait and see. We're going to take another.
He started it against my son. Was the first one that he won.
We're going to come back in just a little bit. We're going to bring in Mike Cieslik from Orchard Park. You're watching Western New York High School Football Weekly on WNY Athletics.
We are proud to serve our country. We are proud to serve our country, to serve our local communities, to wear the uniform, to be a soldier, to serve abroad when and where duty calls. We are ready to stand with our brothers and sisters to defend, to serve, to fight. We're always ready, we're always there. We are the New York Army National Guard.
We've got a VIP at 3 o'clock. We're gonna go side right, pick, Riptide Blazer, safety key, full boat up 3. On now, ready?
We are proud to serve.
WNYathletics.com. You can link me later.
WNY Athletics, your home for high school sports.
Yes.
Welcome back to WNY High School Football Weekly. We are waiting for Coach Cieslik to join us, and when he does, we'll cue him into the broadcast. But before we do that, why don't we talk about this game a little bit and our thoughts on how things may go. Mario, you've seen enough of Lancaster and Orchard Park over the last couple of years. Tom, you've seen more Lancaster Orchard Park games than anyone except for maybe Rupp. Your thoughts on the game first. What do you think is going to happen here in this game?
It's tough to, you know what I mean? Like this is the kind of game that you get so excited for because anything can happen. This game is normally a close game. This game has been very close up front. The question will be right now, Orchard Park is putting up major points. Can the Orchard Park defense stop Lancaster? That's one of the big things that's going to come into play right now. And then same thing now, flip it on the other side to Lancaster. Can they put the amount of points on the board that Orchard Park's been putting up to be able to match that way? That's really what you're looking at inside this game to be able to make it happen. But right now, you're looking at this to say as Orchard Park has been climbing the hill, this is a game that they haven't been able to get by the last 7-8 years, right? So this is a game, if you're going to take the next step, the team you have to take a next step in is Lancaster, and you've got to get a W.
Yeah. What concerns me about Orchard Park is I think they lose this team here in 2 straight games. I don't know where the focus has been. You take that Sweet Home game, you're up 28-0, and they come storming back, take the lead from you, but then you regroup and you finally pull it out. You were supposed to win that game. Niagara Falls last week, that first step, they had a bit of a lead there, and I believe they took a lead to half, but then Niagara Falls takes the lead in the third quarter. So you come again, first half you dominate Sweet Home, you let them back in the second half. I don't know how that Orchard Park Niagara Falls game went exactly to tell you where the momentum went when it shifted, but something tells me, by the way Niagara Falls have been playing football the last 5 to 10 years, the way Orchard Park's been playing football the last forever, something tells me Orchard Park was not focused enough to take down Niagara Falls early and get out of that game. Did they take them seriously? Were they looking ahead to Lancaster? But to me, that tells me that Lancaster or that Orchard Park, they know what lies ahead. They know, Tom, they have to beat Lancaster. And Mario, you played in this area against some of the top teams in Buffalo. When you are facing a team, or when there's a team on your schedule coming up, week 3, week 4, whatever, and you've got a team in front of you that you got to play first that hasn't been good. Do you take that team as seriously as you're supposed to? We're talking about 14, 15, 16-year-old kids, 17-year-old kids.
I just was going to show you the breakdown. It was
I
actually
thought you were showing me
16
your screen is broke.
No, that's we all know that. But it was 16-14 at halftime.
Okay. Yeah.
The Niagara Falls game.
Yeah.
Then Niagara Falls was up. So they were up in the third quarter.
They took the lead.
Right. And then it was Orchard Park that came. But it was really close. So it wasn't like it was this big lead that Orchard Park had and then lost this big lead.
They never had a big lead in that game, which surprised me. Now, is Niagara Falls much better?
No, that's a big question.
They beat West Seneca West the week before. They hung in there for 5 rounds with Orchard Park. Orchard Park needed overtime to beat this team. So maybe Niagara Falls has woken up. Who they got this week? They're at Bennett. Oh, yeah, the big bet.
With the bet.
Superintendents. These superintendents, they yell at us all the time for FanDuel and Caesars and no, you can't be doing this. And here they are on a public forum and they're making a wager. Anyways, so that got me today. I'm like, what are you doing? Anyways, Niagara Falls, for as many kids as they have, should be competing for AA titles. Maybe they've turned the corner. We should bring Caligiuri in. He's coaching JV there.
Yep.
Maybe he can give us a little insider information on what's going on at Niagara Falls.
We should have Tony anyway, just to have Tony.
Well, yeah, I miss him. We'll talk for 20 minutes about food. We have to do that.
We have to start off the show with food, though, right?
But anyways, what I was going with this, Tom, is Orchard Park. I think they're just so focused. They do have a great team. They do have a good team, but I think they have to really tighten up the concentration because they almost screwed it away with Sweet Home, and they almost screwed it up last week with Niagara Falls. Something tells me that they know they're good, but they got to really close out these games. And Lancaster coming up.
What do you do?
It's been
What do you
circled.
do before the season starts?
Circle Lancaster.
Circle the game right there. And I'm sure they've got the Bennett game circled at the same exact time. So, listen, they're kids, like you said. Do you overlook somebody? Absolutely. But I do start to wonder, and we haven't seen them live, this Niagara Falls team may be a team we're going to be talking about here a little bit.
The way they're playing right now, you can't take them lightly.
Nope.
But remember when Bennett was getting good, but they weren't able to get past Lancaster?
Yeah.
There was that one week when they were getting ready to play Orchard Park, and all these kids were talking about in the parking lot was Lancaster this, Lancaster that. I'm like, you're going to Orchard Park tomorrow. I'd worry about Orchard Park, and they lost.
That was a shootout.
They
it was
needed
like
that.
50-42 or something.
Right.
Yeah.
But Bennett needed that loss. They needed that.
Yeah.
And then they've gone on this run. They haven't lost to anybody in 6 since, right?
Yep.
So maybe Orchard Park needed that wake-up call last week in Niagara Falls. We're going to bring in Coach Cieslik. I believe. Should we go to commercial first? Or okay, we're going to bring Coach Cieslik in. And there he is. Handsome devil. What's up,
Hi,
Coach?
gentlemen. Hi, gentlemen. I apologize for some tech issues.
Oh, that's all right. We're the king of tech issues at WNY Athletics. Coach, thank you for joining us. I know you've got a crazy week here. A lot of film to go over, a lot of players to talk to and get ready for Friday night. You're hosting Lancaster. But let's talk about the beginning of the season. You've played 2 very good games, closer games than maybe you guys had wanted, but this is Section 6 football, Class AAA. Sometimes you got to throw the records out. But you guys get through Sweet Home after having a 28-0 lead. You let them back into it, lose the lead, finally pull it out. Last week, Niagara Falls, Tom and I and Mario were just talking here. Was that a game that, I mean, how good was Niagara Falls? Because none of us expected that kind of a result, overtime, to beat them. But you tell us, you were there. You were on the sideline.
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk football. The Western New York football scene is an excellent one, and I'm excited to represent the Quakers here tonight. You're right on. I heard a little bit of you guys chatting before I was able to log in, and we had a good plan going into Niagara Falls, just like we did in Sweet Home. And I believe there were times where we followed our plan and executed, and there were other times where we had to regroup and make some adjustments, and there were times in that game where we were slow to. But rest assured, the Wolverines are an up and coming team. That team is big, strong, fast, and there was no quit in that team at all. We absolutely earned that victory, and that team's going to be one where if they stick together, you're going to be talking about them in the future for sure.
We hope to. I mean, a school with that many athletes, and a tradition. I mean, they are a basketball school first, maybe, but they have enough guys there that should be able to compete with the OPs, the Lancasters, the Bennetts, and so on and so forth. So I'm glad to hear that from you that they are fast, big, and when we like Coach Bass there. So thank you very much for queuing us up on that because I wasn't at that game. I know we weren't at that game to view.
Sure.
But now all the attention is to Friday night, and we just had Coach Rupp in before you talk a little bit about the success they've had this year, the big game they had against McQuaid. They could have gone either way, and now they travel out to Orchard Park. How is your team right now? What's the mindset? What are the boys chatting it up in the locker room? What's going on there?
Well, it certainly is a big week. And we look forward to these football games. As you alluded to earlier, every week in AA football, whether it's league or non-league, Western New York football is tough football. Coaches prepare, players work year round. We're really excited for this opportunity. The Quakers understand that they haven't been on top of the mountain. And if these guys want to take the next step, you've got to show up and play a 4-quarter game against an incredibly talented and well-coached football team in Lancaster, coached by Eric Rupp. There's no doubt about it. Our guys know that. We know that. And we're excited for Friday night for sure.
Coach, I want to expand on a question I asked Coach Rupp. And I asked him, I said, Orchard Park's been known for quarterbacks. You've seen Casella, Sharp, Janka, just in the last 3, right? I could keep going in your past, but now you've got Ciano here. Tell me how he's different than all these quarterbacks that you've talked and had before that have gone through you at one point, whether they were modified, JV, freshman, right? You've seen them all. So tell me how he's different.
Man, I can't say enough good things about Brady. Brady is a true athlete. At the end of the day, he's an incredible athlete. He's a true dual threat quarterback. He has worked incredibly hard to understand the quarterback position. He's worked hard to understand defenses. He's put in incredible time and effort to be bigger, stronger, faster, and to work on his mechanics. And anytime you have a player with his athletic ability that you can combine with a work ethic that Brady exhibits, I mean, sky is the limit. And like I said, we've had some incredible quarterbacks, but we're going back to the Ben Holmes and the Kyle Hoppy days as the closest comparison, to Brady. I'll never forget back in those, early thousands when the Quakers are rolling, I believe it was the Buffalo News who called Kyle Hoppy armed and dangerous. And it's kind of something that I like to say about Brady. He can throw it, he can run it, he can read it. And we put a lot on his shoulders, and it's only been 2 weeks, and I know he wasn't very happy with his performance in week 2, but at the end of the day, we got the job done. And we look forward to, the rest of the season together for sure.
Hey, Coach, there's a player on your roster that's really started to stick out to me. I know we know the Ciano boys and we know, Switek, but talk to me about this Luke Dana kid and what he brings to your program. I've heard a lot about him, and I've watched him at least the first week against Sweet Home. I was really impressed with this young man. You tell me a little bit more about Dana and what he means to the program.
Again, my job is to just serve these guys and put them in a place to be successful. Luke Dana moved to us when his father got a job with the Buffalo Bills, and I can't say enough good things about this young man. He's a Division I Penn State lacrosse commit. But he's a football player, guys. He is a football player. He is one of the hearts and souls of our football team. He works hard. He's a leader. Our offensive coordinator, Coach Frankowski, puts a lot on him and asks him to do a lot. He plays both sides of the football, and he might make one or two mistakes, and he's harder on himself than any of us could ever be. He is a true football player. We love having Luke on our team. It's an honor to have him wear one of our captaincies.
Coach, one of the things Coach Rupp just told us was one of the advantages he feels he has against any team is that he doesn't have many players that play both ways, kind of what you just talked about with Dana. So how do you go ahead and help your players be successful when you may be going against fresher players on the other side of the ball?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a question we talked about all week. And I think it's important for our guys to be prepared. We can't afford a mental breakdown, or we can't afford not to pick up on something on a Friday night, especially this Friday night, when we put in the time and effort to identify strengths and weaknesses, identify potential plays out of certain formations, etc. Our guys need to prepare. They have prepared, and then they need to execute. That's the big thing. We just want to limit our mistakes, and we want to play a fundamentally sound football game. As far as going one way or both ways, I want our best 11 on the football field at all times. Obviously, especially at the AA level, you've got to rotate some guys in and spell some guys, especially in certain positions. But at the end of the day, we have practiced a certain way all summer and all year. And our guys know the role that they serve and what we expect of them as a coaching staff. So those guys will be ready.
Yes, Coach. I also want to ask another question. I want to say, how concerned are you as far as like clock management? I believe you guys like normally play your game, you move the chains. Far as Lancaster, they had the ability. I wouldn't say go and try to make a scoring play every drive, but they have more of a, I want to say, structure to like play fast pace. They'll go on the ball. They'll even go to a 4 wide, 5 wide sometimes, and just like play fast pace. But you guys normally, I want to say, just play your game. You'll come out, make the adjustments, call play at the line, eat up the clock, and play high game management. Do you feel like it'll be a chance where that could bite you in the butt, as far as like they'll score fast and you didn't, okay, like let's move the pace a little bit, or you guys will be able to just play your game no matter what?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. I think a lot of it comes down to game plan. There's going to be times in every single week where we want to speed it up. There's going to be times where we want to slow it down and huddle up. I think a lot goes into it. I don't think it can be a cookie cutter answer. I think it depends on game flow. I think it depends on, the pace of the game, what has already happened in the game, where you have your opponent, et cetera. So, we're prepared to do whatever we have to do on Friday. We could go super slow. We could go super fast. We're going to be prepared to do whatever we need to do. At the end of the day, we can only control the controllables, and we're going to take care of us, and do our best to execute and be prepared. Like I said, we know that Bennett and Lancaster have been playing for sectional titles the last couple of years, and we haven't. And so in order for us to earn maybe a little bit more respect and to be considered, one of the top 2 or 3 teams, we have to play like it, and we haven't beat Lancaster in a while, and we haven't beat Bennett in a while. We know that. And we know, what our goals are.
Coach, I love what you just brought up, right? Because the last 8 years, you can say, really, that's where Lancaster started things off. Your team right now is got to be pumped for this game. They've got to be. How do you keep everything in check right now that you don't get overexcited, right, as players out there, because they want this game so bad? How do you keep everything as far as emotionally intact?
Yeah, another great question. And Coach, to be honest with you, we've been talking about it all week long. We've played opponents before where, it's almost like we've come out a little bit too juiced up and amped up. And it's just really important to be where your feet are. And we can't worry about the second quarter, the second drive, the second half. we have to take care of business the minute we touch the football, or we start on defense, or we start on special teams. And we've just been telling the guys the whole time, there's going to be things that go wrong in that football game. It's high school football. I say all the time, we put a lot of time and effort in, and then we rely on 15, 16, and 17-year-old boys on a Friday night with a lot on their plate. So we are working incredibly hard to get the guys ready. Our guys know it's going to be a big game. We're opening up a new stadium, new field house, new press box. Officially, the project's done. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But Coach Tundo did teach me one thing, and I think it's a good thing to share with you. It's only poison if you drink it. So that poison can sit on the shelf and not bother you as long as you don't touch it. We're not letting any water inside our ship. It can't hurt us in the ship as long as we keep it out of the ship. So, we're just really focused on being where our feet are and taking care of what we can take care of. We can't control some of that other stuff. And, not only football, but in life, if you can control the things that you have impact on, I think you're going to like where you are at the end of the day. And that's what we're really hoping to do. If we get beat by a better team on Friday night, then, we'll cheer as the winners go by. But if we do stuff to shoot ourselves in the foot, that's when we're going to be real disappointed in us. Boys are excited, and I'm excited, and just trying to be a calm, level head for them, and stress the importance of preparation and execution, just like every other coach. I wish it was a secret recipe, guys, but it's not.
Coach, I got to ask you, is your field there, your athletic facility, big enough to hold all these fans coming down to Orchard Park this Friday night? You got more than a sellout coming down there. Standing room only.
Like I said, everyone's really excited for this football game for lots of different reasons and lots of different stakeholders. And I also tell our guys, everybody plays varsity football for a different reason. And so we're going to have people there who are just out to support from the community. We're going to have diehard football fans there. We're going to have students there. We're going to have parents there, and we're just excited to be in one place against like I said earlier, a heck of a football team with a really good coaching staff. So, I wish we could play this one 8 quarters instead of 4, just because I have a feeling it's going to be a goodie.
And we're going to have Western New York Athletics there, as Stu Boyer will be on the call for this one, and we'll be out there joining you guys for this big game at the same time.
Yeah, this one is, I feel bad, sort of, because this probably should be that TV game, but I'm thankful that we're able to be there as well. So people should see this game. If you're going to watch a game this weekend, there's a lot of great games this weekend, but this is the game, in my opinion, that's puts Western New York on the map, because we got some tremendous football players and coaches and 2 of the best programs going on at it on Friday night. So, Coach, we wish you guys the best of luck. Stay healthy, and we're going to hang up on you, but we're going to talk amongst ourselves as to who we think might pull it out this Friday, so you can hang out and listen. Thank you very much for joining us, though, and again, best luck to you guys.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Excited.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
That's Coach Cieslik, now in his 2nd year as head coach at Orchard Park, and this has to be the biggest game since he took over the program. If you think about it.
Every Lancaster or Bennett game is going to be, right? For any of the coaches that are over there. That's the game they've circled on the calendar that you've got to be ready for. Because think about it. You need to know whether they win or lose, it really doesn't matter, because they're going to get to the playoffs that's out there. So the question is, have you given your team the opportunity that they can believe they could be one of those 2 teams that's going off to the stadium?
Okay, so knowing you are possibly going to play them again, do you show all your cards Friday night?
Yes.
You have to.
You have to.
You have
because you're doing that for your players.
Yeah.
Because you know as well as I do what momentum does for a team, what momentum does for a player, and just when you believe you can do something, sky's the limit.
Yeah, you don't want to be walking around after, if you play a great game on Friday night, win or lose, you can leave with your head held high. But if you're making mistake after mistake, that's going to make week 4 even more of a magnifying glass. And I don't know who Orchard Park is the week after, or who Lancaster has the week after.
So Orchard Park has Lockport the week after.
Okay.
And Lancaster will get Hutch Tech.
Okay. All right. Not necessarily bye weeks for either, but you still got to play. And
they're games that you are
expected
to win. Whether that happens, listen, it's high school football. Like Coach said, we're relying on 16 and 17-year-olds, right? I get it. But at the same time, this game just is one that both teams have circled. Lancaster wants to keep their streak alive. Orchard Park wants to get the turn and say, get back to some of those teams we've had in the past.
So, what, in your estimation, you've seen these teams a bunch. What does Lancaster have to do to win this game? And then the same question as far as Orchard Park. What do they have to do to win the game? And who do you like? If you had to pick.
That's put me in a tough spot.
I'm going to tell you.
So here's what I think.
And I'll ask the same to Mario.
Right now, you have to, if you are Lancaster, stop Ciano. You have to, period. That's the guy you got to stop. If you stop him, it slows that offense down. That doesn't mean they can't score other ways. We've already talked about this, right? There are guys out there from the running game to the other things that can easily happen that Orchard Park is going to be. It all starts and begins, though. You got to stop Ciano.
Yeah.
And then flip it at the same time with Orchard Park. You defensively have to make some stands here, and you've got to right now make sure that Lancaster doesn't get any sort of lead that your players drop the heads.
Yes.
That, to me, it's got to stay close going into that fourth quarter right there. One thing that Lancaster has owned has been special teams. That has been a big difference in these games right there. Block punts, right? They can all go back to it. Special teams has been big. Orchard Park, if they want that win, it's got to win the special teams.
Mario, what do you like?
Honestly, I want to say Orchard Park. I feel I agree with everything with Tom saying. Come down to special teams. I feel like if Orchard Park could have good clock management and waste, I wouldn't want to say waste like the game clock, but wait till 8 seconds to snap the ball. Wait till 4 seconds to snap the ball. Get their adjustments in. Take their time. Because I believe like once Lancaster have the ball, like they're not going to look for every score play right now, but they're going to move the chains. They're going to line up. They're going to keep Orchard Park from making adjustments as much as possible.
Yeah.
And they're going to do everything fast paced. So I feel like once Orchard Park has the ball, now it's time to eat up the clock. So it will take away time for Lancaster to make the many adjustments that they do.
Yeah, see, I see this game going deep into the fourth quarter, and whoever has the ball last may be the team that pulls this
And
one
that's
out.
one of my things. So like with Orchard Park,
Yeah.
From coaching, I'm like, okay, regardless of what, make sure we have the good ball last. So we eat up the clock as much as possible.
Yes.
So if it's time to score, we'll have the ball in our possession.
Yeah. And I'll say this. The only way, or the main reason why I'm taking Lancaster is because Orchard Park hasn't proved that they can beat them yet. They are the king of the hill right now in this rivalry. And this is a rivalry.
Yeah.
Until Orchard Park can demonstrate that they can beat Lancaster, you got to favor Lancaster here. But the games at Orchard Park, and you know these kids are dialed in, but Lancaster, they don't, Minsterman, Krupa, they've got some tough dudes too.
Absolutely.
They're tough to defend. They can stretch the field. And like you said, special teams. If it comes down to special teams, you almost have to favor Lancaster. But Cieslik's done an excellent job coaching this team. We know how good of a job Rupp's done with Manziel and others. I think this comes down to the fourth quarter, final possession. We go either way, but if I had to pick a team, I'm going to go with Lancaster for the simple fact they've owned Orchard Park for the last bunch of years. That could change this year, though. We'll have to wait and see.
Last year's score, 21-17.
You're giving me that score?
No, that was last year's score.
Oh, 21-17.
That was last year's score.
Yeah.
So just this is the kind of thing we've seen. And listen, I would make the same exact comment. Until you go ahead and win that big game, you've got to pick the other team.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
And it'd be no different if we're talking Lancaster Bennett.
Absolutely. Because that's what Bennett has done the next
exactly.
day. You know what I mean? Even
Exactly.
and think about it. We saw Lancaster at the stadium against Bennett that had the perfect game plan.
Yes.
Perfect. And Bennett comes up with the win. So again, you do the same thing. When Bennett plays Lancaster, I'll say the same thing. Bennett right now has won the last few years. Until you beat them, that would be the pick I'm going to go with.
We'll have to wait for Friday night. The game is on the NFHS Network. The NFHS Network. You need a subscription. You can find that game if you go to NFHSnetwork.com. Just find the game, subscribe. And being that it's September, you'll have it for a whole month at least. So we're doing games every Thursday and Friday on NFHS. Our Saturday games are on WNY Athletics Plus. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors. You're watching WNY High School Football Weekly. We'll be back to wrap things up with one last segment.
Seek your next adventure. Make your next memory. Explore your next connection. What will you do next?
And remember, you can call me anytime.
Anytime?
Oh, this is my client.
Hello! Injury attorney William Mattar always puts his clients first.
I gotta take this.
There you go. Sorry, I gotta take this.
He's recovered millions for injured accident victims.
Easy out, easy out. Ooh, it's mine. This is William.
Hurt in a car? Call William Mattar.
Watch the best of Western New York high school football every Friday night at 7 p.m. Catch the games every week on Create on Spectrum Channel 1275.
We are proud to serve our country, to serve our local communities, to wear the uniform, to be a soldier, to serve abroad when and where duty calls. We are ready to stand with our brothers and sisters to defend, to serve, to fight. We're always ready, we're always there. We are the New York Army National Guard.
Look, Patriot account is not going to close itself. Looks like you're going to be here late again. I need this by morning.
Oh no, not again. My son has a football game tonight.
WNYathletics.com. You can thank me later.
WNY Athletics, your home for high school sports.
Yes.
Welcome back to WNY High School Football Weekly. Our Trench Trophy and Connolly Cup award winners this week are being shown on your screen in just a little bit. Connolly Cup Players of the Week, Zach Brittenbaker from Depew, Tate Cadnese from CSP, Jake Ciano, Braden Gibbs, Sammy Ikawanu, George Coons, Jeff Long, Ryan McKinnon, Anthony Moore, Jackson Moritz, Coy Patterson, Dylan Pringle, Gavin Schwab, Daquan Stone, and Bryce Terry. Those are your Connolly Cup Week 2 Players of the Week. And our Trench Trophy.
Can you make one comment? Because we're getting a lot on social media.
Go ahead.
Remember, folks, you can't get a second nomination until after week 4 is when it is. So understand you may have seen people that did not have their name on there. There's a reason, because they may have already got a nomination. So please remember, till the second half of the season, you can only be nominated once.
So if you were nominated week 1 or 2, you're not going to see yourself at least till week 5. There is a Connolly Cup meeting next Wednesday night, 6 o'clock. So we'll have to talk about that, doing that show somehow, some way. Maybe Francis will fill in for me. We'll have to say, you'll survive. Trench Trophy. Cole Camerata, Aiden Harrigan, Nick Cray, Matt Martin, Ty Richardson, and Alex Schrock, all nominated for the Trench Trophy Award this past week. They're on your screen now. They had half a dozen last week. And here's 6 more. So congratulations to those players for being recognized. And of course, I don't have them all with us, but the Cross Training Athletics, those player of the games or character athletes of the awards. I saw Terry Kunick down at Springville doing the thing. Good to see that guy. The state rankings are up on New York State Sports Writers Association. That's nysswa.org. Class AA, Bennett's ranked 8th in the state right now. Franny's at 20, Canisius 23, and in AA. Our top-ranked teams from Class C, Salamanca's 2nd overall, and CSP 2nd in D. I didn't see our 8-man team ranked at all.
Lancaster's in that AA too.
Lancaster is in there, but they're 25th.
Right.
That's why I didn't mention them. They're way down at the bottom, and Clarence is 15th in A. Class B, our highest ranked team there is Pioneer at 8. Salamanca taking on the number 17 Southwestern. Southwestern's ranked 17th in Class C, so you got a 2-17 matchup there. That should be a pretty good one. The Climber go on to Pine Valley this week, I believe. There's a game on Saturday, Cat Little Valley, O'Hara. Don't want to spend a lot of time there, but one of those teams has to win. Cat Little Valley's on a 23-game losing streak. O'Hara's having some issues lost some players last week. Someone's got to win that game. So somebody's losing streak's going to end right there on Saturday. A couple other big games for last week. We should talk about Portville and Salamanca last week. Jeremy and the boys from Jamestown did that game, did a great job. Had front row seats for a phenomenal game back and forth. Salamanca pulls it out in the end to stay undefeated, 2-0 on the year. And Portville, I believe they go to 1-1. But that was a phenomenal football game, and that we may see them two go at it again before the year's over. Falconer, Casadega Valley, Maple Grove, they're on a roll right now. Who do they got this week? Where did I see them? Are they Saturday?
Casadega Valley. That's who Portville's got.
No, I know, but Portville, Casadega. Oh my goodness, they got another great game right there. That's gonna say a lot. How about this other game this weekend? Depew and Lackawanna.
Oh, that's the telltale sign for Depew, right?
Okay.
We looked at that last year as the same exact thing. Depu's come out of the gates real well.
Yeah.
We already know what to expect from Lackawanna. Another great running back, right? That we've got there in Ty Clark. You've got an incredible line down there led by Sammy. You know what I mean? Just unbelievable. We know what to expect right now from Lackawanna. Does Depew put points up on the board, and does Depew try to make an upset? I mean, you've got to say right now Lackawanna's got to be favored in that one.
For sure. And the problem Lackawanna had last year was teams could throw on them. Can teams throw on them this year? We'll have to wait and see. But I wish we could do that game, but we can't do them all.
In fact, they haven't let up a point yet this year either.
Lackawanna has not been scored on yet. Yep. That's definitely
it's a huge statement.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Another game I was looking at, guys, Will East at Star Point. Now, Will East lost their first week at Kimmer West on a touchdown in the last minute. Then they beat Will North last week, and now they go to Star Point, who's 2-0. That could be a shootout, or that could be a measuring stick for Will East, see how good they are. And a Star Point, if they can get on that 3-0 roll, Star Point, man, that's a team that
Star Point. We talked about them turning.
They get a gauntlet
I
coming up,
love
though.
what they've got. What they've got as far as a team that's there, and they were bringing back some big pieces from last year to this year. So I'm going to be excited to see that one. The other one, which is also to me a very interesting game, is Health Sciences and Will South, because you could be talking about one of those teams getting their second loss already early this season. And could that second loss knock you out of the playoffs? That
Very
to
well
me, that
could.
to me is a big one. In the D, here's the game I want in D. Franklinville, Ellicottville, Wilson. I think Wilson has played two tough games early this year. Think about
non-conference.
Non-conference. Newfane, who they were right in that game, who went and took down Medina last week and stopped Medina's 5-year reign, not having a loss inside Class C North. And they went this week and then again played another non-conference game. Alden or Akron. I'm blanking off the top of my head, so let me just look it out. It was Alden. So they lost to Alden 20-6. Another team that is another really good team that we talk about. Incredible line out there in Alden. In fact, it's got a Division I lineman out there themselves. That's a game I'm very interested to see, because now Wilson's going to be taking on their first team. Let's see what happens.
I'll tell you, there was another game that I wanted to mention that might be a little bit of a measuring stick. Where was that? So Salamanca at Southwestern, yeah. That's a game that we're doing on FHS.
South Park Iroquois.
South Park Iroquois on Thursday night, because we know Iroquois can chuck it. We know Kleitz can throw the ball. South Park, a little more balanced than they've been in years past. Very physical. And they're going to get physical on Thursday night with Iroquois. So that game, I can't get to it. I don't believe. Maybe I should. But that could be a game that it's definitely worth keeping an eye on. I think that's a TV game on my TV.
It is, yes.
Newfane at Roy Hart Barker. I don't know what's going on with Roy Hart Barker. I was told this is a team to keep your eye on this year. I think they're 0-2 now. Yeah. Newfane goes there. I don't want to see Newfane with a letdown. Newfane needs to go in.
And keep off that win off of Medina.
Yes, exactly. Then Hutch Tech at North Tonawanda. We wanted to stream it. We were told no. No comment.
Can I give you a nice stat?
Yes.
Iroquois.
I want to hear it.
The top 7 wide receivers so far after 2 weeks, 3 of them are from Iroquois. 3 different wide receivers in the top 7 in stats from Iroquois.
Who have they played?
Understand. Listen, I understand it may not have been the best competition. Listen, I get like but this was spreading the ball. This isn't just one receiver out here. He's got multiple targets out there and Kleitz to be able to throw to. He's got Dundon with 245, Donovan with 211, and he's got Skutnik with 204. 3 different wide receivers over 200 yards. That's something to watch out for to see if that stays alive as they start getting into some of the bigger competition.
Let's just double check. Tell me who they've played. I mean, Lakeshore was one of them.
I want to say Lakeshore was one, and I want to say
Amherst.
It was Amherst. Okay.
Yeah, 35-21, Amherst. They're coming up to A.
They've
B,
got some.
Amherst B. Traditionally an A team, they're in B. But yeah, we've got some really good games. Saturday, the Health Science Will South game.
Don't forget Monsignor Martin, Canisius Cathedral Prep.
Yeah.
Always great games here when Cathedral Prep plays one of our teams here in Western New York.
We filled out a win last week. They go against McKinley. You're good friends with the staff over there. Are they believing the hype? Are they keep reining it in a little bit at McKinley? That's a team that they have traditionally gotten out to big leads in the standings. Like last year, they let it go. And I got to make sure Brian has to do a good job of keeping those guys level-headed and not getting too ahead of themselves.
Just before you go, remember the turnaround last year was when McKinley lost that game to West Seneca West.
Yeah.
At West Seneca West. That seemed to be when things unraveled for McKinley. They come up with that big win right here. This running attack is unbelievable for McKinley. When you talk about Hughes, Barker, Houston, I mean, they are loaded at running back.
Yeah.
They can run the ball against anybody with a nice line. To be honest with you, what I want to see is when they need to go to the air. Because I will say, the Staples is unbelievable to watch. This kid was laying out for everything all over the place. And if they can get him the ball, they become two-dimensional in a way that we really haven't seen in a while at McKinley.
And if you're going to compete with Clarence, you're going to have to be two-dimensional.
Yep.
So do they have something in store for further down the road? We'll have to wait and see.
But you wanted to add, I cut you off.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
absolutely. Like he mentioned the ground attack, and you hit it with the nail in the coffin with Staples. The kid's phenomenal.
Yep.
And then also you got to think about the defense side. Like a lot of times when McKinley got a chance, they had a turnover, they had problems getting the ball back. The Stable kid had at least 3 interceptions this season, maybe 4.
He had 1 in that game, and he had 3 opportunities to make an interception, 2 that just went off his fingertips,
Correct.
and he makes the 3rd one late into the game. But I really like what he brings to the table out there, too.
There's been a lot of good football played in the first couple of weeks. St. Francis, by the way, Catholic Memorial, we are showing that game on WNY Athletics on Saturday. You're not on any call Saturday, right?
No, Saturday, no.
Saturday, you're off. All right.
Saturday,
Look,
I actually have to work.
You're working Saturday, yes. I don't know about Thursday. I told my son I'd take him to the Bison's game, but now I'm thinking maybe I should get to All High for that game against Iroquois. Yeah, that's the game tomorrow. Friday night, though, I think I'm just gonna have to find a room and put like 6 or 7 TVs and bring all the streams in, because I don't want to miss any of these games. I mean, I know Depew streams their games, so that's a game I'm gonna want to keep my eye on. This Tapestry at Akron, though. I'm very interested in this game,
especially with the way they've been throwing. They've been, and right now, just to give you a little peek, he is number 3 in Western New York right now in passing yards when we talk about Tremaine Harris right there. So him, listen, if you talk about what we've talked about, Kleitz number 1, Harris number 2, and then a team we haven't talked about, which is going to we want to see them take the next step, is Warring with Eden North Collins, who put up some big numbers, if you remember, in the first week.
Cat Little Valley.
I understand, but there were a program member that couldn't field players last year and had to forfeit some games.
Yep.
So to see them turn the corner, and definitely we already know they take on a new coach down there, And he really is doing a great job of really building that program back up.
Another game on Saturday worth keeping an eye on is Jamestown at Lockport. Does the St. Joe's loss have an effect carry over into week 3? Legit to think about. So in Lockport, they need to get things going.
I think Coach Langwer is going to have them ready.
I think they'll definitely be ready. But
again, you're talking about anything can happen in any of these games. There's no doubt about it.
That's going to do it for us. Oh, Allegheny Limestone plays Frewsburg, their first game of the year. Frewsburg and 8-man football. That's Friday night down there. Thank you very much for watching today on WNY High School Football Weekly. For Mari Hall, Tim Gardner, Tom Prince, I'm Frank Wolf. We'll be back next week. If you're on the sideline, you see us, say hello. See you next week.